It is wild to witness what we're seeing across crypto. Some of the stuff that we were speculating on a handful of years ago when we were called crazy conspiracy theorists is actually coming to fruition, and coming to fruition, I think, a lot faster probably than a lot of people have anticipated, certainly in the past 18 to 24 months. Look at just this week. We have the HBAR Canary Capital ETF alongside Litecoin. Obviously, there was a Solana one as well. And another 72, this is as of 5 hours ago, another 72 million HBAR flows into the Canary Capital HBAR ETF. That ETF now holds over 235 million HBAR, or $45 million worth. That's 0.5% of all HBAR absorbed in 3 days by an ETF. And I believe there's 13 more HBAR ETFs on the docket. All of that being said, should resonate with a lot of you, because Canary Capital, the same entity that just launched the HBAR and Litecoin ETFs, just updated the XRP ETF under the same generic listing standards for the SEC. So we should potentially have an automatic listing for the XRP ETF, and that date, I believe, is November 13th. So that's just a couple short weeks away. The government reopening could potentially affect that, obviously, but this is assuming the NASDAQ just greenlights this 8A filing, which Canary Capital updated in the same alignment, like I just said, that happened with HBAR and XRP. We see huge tokenization initiatives on a consistent basis here at this point in time. I mean, it's almost like tired of talking about them because they just happen all the time. Ondo, one of the bigger tokenization ecosystems, has gotten a lot of hype, obviously, over the past year or so, selected Chainlink as official Oracle infrastructure. And, you guys know I try to cover everybody if I possibly can. Chainlink has had ridiculous announcements in the past year. We also have essentially the Bitcoin whitepaper anniversary is today. If you guys didn't know that, there's a little bit, I'm sure most of you guys do, a little bit of a fun fact of knowledge there for you. Satoshi Nakamoto published the Bitcoin white paper introducing Bitcoin on October 31st, 2008. And by design, obviously, 21 million Bitcoins ever, titled Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. A 9-page thesis paper established the basic structure for the Bitcoin network. I saw that there was a panel discussion between two Bitcoin bulls, and I saw it phrased as kind of maximalist as well, Brad Garlinghouse, and Jeremy Allaire from Circle. So obviously, the stablecoin aspects covered as well. One thing that I think that we see, and this isn't, this isn't just Bitcoin maximalists or XRP maximalists, because there certainly are some of those as well, or any maximalist. What we consistently see with this technology, which is very interesting to me, is we see narrative shifts, but it's almost, I'm almost equally as interested in not only the narrative shifts, but like the back to the future moments that seem to happen. When you've been here for a handful of years, and most of you guys that have been here for a handful of years would probably recognize, think back to some of the use cases we were talking about in 2018, 19, and 20, like micropayments, and then they kind of disappeared and then they kind of came back. It's the same thing with tokenization of fine art or luxury goods, for an example. Certainly too niche to kind of gain mainstream adoption in the short term. However, now that we're seeing tokenization of real world assets, stocks, bonds, treasuries, all of this stuff, how much do you want to bet a handful of years from now, when all the foundations have been laid and the powers that be have fortified their positions and a way for them to maintain their status quo and grow their wealth? How much do you want to bet we start seeing the yous and eyes of the world talking about tokenization of fine art, luxury goods, vehicles, all the other stuff that have already happened in crypto? So again, it is kind of the back to the future moments that I find interesting. We also have Visa expanding into multi-blockchain stablecoin infrastructure across 4 major networks. I saw a post today, somebody saying, I'm tired of seeing new stablecoin tickers, and I couldn't agree more. It's to the point that, what are we going to get a couple of years from now? And your local library is going to have its own stablecoin with its own ticker. It's like, okay. But Visa announces comprehensive stablecoin support for USDC, EuroC, or EURC, PYUSD, PayPal USD, and USDG across Ethereum, Solana, Stellar, and Avalanche networks, processing $140 billion in crypto transactions since 2020. And we are finally at the end of October here. October has historically been a good month for crypto, blockchain, distributed ledger, price action, all the stuff that most people here care about. This has been Bitcoin and crypto as a whole's first negative price performance in 7 years. So I think most people are probably very ready for October to be over. Now, what's yet to happen in crypto will be interesting to watch, because, you know, if you are a 4-year cycle individual, like I've said multiple times that I am until I'm not, until it doesn't happen, we're kind of closing in on, you know, it being potentially maybe a bear market, or maybe we go back up in price. If we go back up in price and start hitting new all-time highs and everything else, I think it would kind of invalidate even my speculation that the 4-year cycle stuff holds. However, it'll be interesting to watch, because I think, like most of us could probably agree on, we see more adoption in this technology than we've ever seen. We see more kind of real world things going on with these networks. We even see, obviously, which is kind of the big kicker here, these cryptocurrencies starting to, you know, be basketed into different financial products, and not just Bitcoin and Ethereum, but obviously with the generic listing standards for ETFs, we're starting to see something similar with all the other digital assets as well, which I think is just a sign that the technology and the digital assets within the technology are starting to mature and be recognized as such, more mature assets than just kind of these speculative things. And I think that a part of the reason that that happens too is that it becomes impossible to ignore. Some of these networks, I mentioned Chainlink earlier, and I'll mention Chainlink again, just because I feel like a lot of the times I see Twitter stuff that is just like super negative because of the maximalist thought process between, they do it too. They dish it out to the XRP community, but XRP certainly dishes it back. But they've had tons of adoption. Think about Swift and DTCC and all the entities that we talk about on here. Just like Ripple has tons of adoption as far as what they've been able to accomplish from the banking sector, payment sector as well. Now, one thing I will say certainly is that these traditional entities know about the digital assets, the underlying digital assets like XRP at this point. We know there's been a lot of trials as well. I mean, that's pretty much a given. Obviously, stablecoins are being widely adopted. But at the end of the day, these entities that are running, or major contributors and stakeholders within these networks, have broken across the line from pure hype and nonsense to actually being able to solve pain points, or at the minimum, provide guidance on kind of building this new infrastructure for the new system that we are certainly witnessing. To the point that yesterday, you know, I did that video on the European Central Bank and what they are rolling out. And this isn't speculation or hype. I mean, well, there wouldn't be hype anyways, because it's a digital euro. It's just what it is. 2026, they're talking about already having legislation for the digital euro. 2027, they're already talking about potentially doing trial transactions. In 2029, they're already talking about, you know, assuming regulation in 2026 happens, they're literally talking about rolling out the digital euro in 2029. That's like 4 freaking years from now. That is nothing. So it'll be interesting to watch what happens. I mean, we've seen more adoption than I think we've ever seen. And I think the point of this video, obviously with the mask and everything else, is just to have a little bit of fun with it. But the stuff that we were talking about a handful of years ago, researching, connecting dots, the majority of that stuff has come to be actually true, which is wild to say and to talk about. So I wonder if the stuff that we're talking about right now is also true. I mean, one of my big speculations is that in a decade or so, you're going to have agentic AI play a major role in each individual's kind of investing journey. I just think it makes sense. We're all totally different. One of the other speculative things I talk about is from a real world asset standpoint. I think that the data that you and I generate actually has value, because right now, the big enterprises and big platforms that we all use for free, there's a reason they're for free. It's because we're the product on those platforms. I believe that we will have kind of a say so, and potentially even be monetized and incentivized based on how we spend our days, where our attention drifts off into. It just makes sense. So our individual data, I think, is quite possibly one of the biggest real world assets. I also think authenticity and truth are probably going to fall in line with being regarded as one of the scarcest assets that exist. And then it becomes like, how do you measure something intangible like that? Because at the end of the day, even from interviewing Dr. Lehman Baird a couple of times, I mean, he basically said with how quickly AI is able to deep fake and do all these other different things, and just with how quickly it's evolving, even you're going to have to digitally sign things. So I think authenticity and truth are going to, right now when I scroll through my phone, it's hard to even tell what's real or fake on some of these videos. But blockchain distributed ledger will underpin kind of the next iteration. I think Death Ranger from the XRP community said it best, where we are at the moment in history where we're witnessing a Cambrian explosion of technology, basically human evolution, where technology converges to the point that society's not going to look anything like it looks right now 40, 50 years from now, maybe even quicker with how quickly things are going. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And there's so much happening on a daily basis that it's hard to keep up with. And I will talk to you guys when I talk to you.